والمجمل ما افترق إلى البيان، والبيان إخراج الشيء من حيز الإشكال إلى حيز التجلي، والنص ما لا يحتمل إلى معنى واحد، وقيل ما تأويله تنزيله وهو مشتق من منصة العروس وهو الكرسي، والظاهر ما احتمل أمرين أحدهما أظهر من الآخر، ويؤول الظاهر بالدليل ويسمى الظاهر بالدليل.
Mujmal, what is that? Mujmal is something that's not clear. It's ambiguous. It can't be implemented. It's hard to implement it. An example for that is قوله تعالى, the statement of Allah, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ. Go establish the prayer. How do I establish a prayer? Where do I start from? What is a prayer? What time is the prayer? How many rak'ah is it? وَلِذَلِكَ those people say we only take the Quran. This is the problem that happens to them. They say we don't take the Sunnah. The ayah وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ. How you go pray salah? How many salahs are there? He can't answer that. Because in the Quran there are verses which are mujmal. And a mujmal means ambiguous, vague, unclear. What does it require? It needs a verse to clarify it and clear it. And the job of the Prophet ﷺ was to clarify these verses. As Allah said in the Quran, وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ. Muhammad, we sent the Quran on you. Why? لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ, so you can clarify it for the people. So the Quran, there are verses which are mujmal and there are verses which are mubayyan. The Sunnah is the wahy from Allah Azza wa Jalla that clarifies these ambiguous verses, makes it clear. Now,
how do you reconcile this with Allah's statement, وَلَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا آيَاتٍ مُبَيِّنَاتٍ?
So how do we reconcile that with the verse of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala where He says we send down ayat which are mubayyinat? How do we reconcile that with it? Ayat which are clear. What we say is that the ayat which Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala is referring to here is the Quran ma'a sunnah. Because the sunnah and the Quran both came from Allah. With them together, everything is clear. Are we all together? The sunnah came down from Allah the way that the Quran came down from Allah. And together when you take them, the verses and everything is clear. And some of the scholars, they said, when we take the ayat, when we take that verse where Allah mentions that the Quran, uhkimat ayatuh, its verses are clear cut, they're all muhkam, they're all clear. The scholars, they said it means those verses which are muhkam. Those verses which Allah intended it to be clear is clear. And those verses Allah wanted it to be understood with a hadith, then they all are clear with help. They are what? They are clear with other evidences. Now, there isn't. It becomes unclear to the people. Some particular people don't know it. Like to the ulama, everyone has a view. He got the ayah and the hadith and he brought it together. He took something out of it.
الأفعال فعل صاحب الشريعة لا يخلو إما أن يكون على وجه القربة أو الطاعة وغير ذلك، فإن دل دليل على الاختصاص به يحمل على الاختصاص، وإن لم يدل لا يخصص به، ولأن الله تعالى يقول لقد كان.
Did you read ظاهر المؤول, right? I never mentioned ظاهر المؤول. Sorry, it's my mistake. ظاهر المؤول, what does it mean? We mentioned al-mujmal and mubayyan. Mujmal mubayyan means mujmal are evidences which are unclear. Mubayyan are which is clear. Are we all together? And the Prophet ﷺ said to the companions, تَرَكْتُكُمْ عَلَى الْمَحَجَّةِ الْبَيْضَاءِ لَيْلُهَا كَنَّهَارِهَا لَا يَزِيغُ عَنْهَا إِلَّا هَالِكٌ. أَمَا تَرَكْتُكُمْ عَلَى الْبَيْضَاءِ لَيْلُهَا كَنَّهَارِهَا لَا يَزِيغُ عَنْهَا إِلَّا هَالِكٌ. I left you upon clarity. Clear road. The Prophet said, I left you upon a clear road. Its night is day. There's no vagueness in it. Does that make sense? So the Prophet clarified everything. ولذلك when he stood in Hajjatul Wada', he said to the people, ألا هل بلغت? Oh people, did I convey the message of Islam to you? قالوا بلى, they said yes. And then he said, Allahumma fashhad, Allah be my witness. You see, I conveyed everything to these people. I told them everything. So Nabiullah Muhammad left his companions upon clarity. The Quran and the Sunnah clarified everything for us. Are we all together? The ayat and the hadith, the ayat which are unclear, we take it to the hadiths that will explain it for us. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ, go establish the prayer. How? We go to the Sunnah and we look at it. Dhuhr comes in this time. This is how you pray Dhuhr. This is what you can do in Dhuhr. This is how many rak'at Dhuhr is. This is Sunnah. Are we all together? Then the author goes into something called Zahir and Mu'awwal. Zahir and Mu'awwal, what does it mean? It means we have a text in front of us. This text that we have in front of us, there's an apparent meaning and an interpretive meaning. The apparent meaning is, for instance, if I say to you, رَأَيْتُ أَسَدًا, I saw a lion. It can be a lion, الحيوان المفترس, the four-legged, the king of the jungle. It could be him. And it could also mean a brave person. Which one is like in al-mutabadiru ila al-dhin, which is apparent? I just said to you, رَأَيْتُ أَسَدًا, I saw a lion. Which one is apparent from the text? Yeah? The king of the jungle. Do you see my point? But you can't deny there's a 20% that could mean a brave person. Like, and of course, that 20% is not implemented because of lack of external evidence. There's no evidence to push it towards that direction. Are we all together? So the author, rahimahullah, here is saying, the nusus, there is something which is zahir and there's something which is mu'awwal. Or that which we hear a lot, ta'wil. The ta'wil of this ayah. Ta'wil means sarful lafzi an zahirihi. Ta'wil means when you divert a word from its apparent meaning. And again, anyone who wants to do that has to bring an evidence for it. Are you with me? I'll give you an example. Maryama, when she saw Jibreel. Maryama, who did she see? Jibreel. He came to her. He promised her a child. Sah? He promised her a child. And she was informed that she's going to have a what? A child. When the people will enter onto her, what would she say to them? فَقُولِ إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنسِيًّا. فَقُولِ, say to the people when they speak to you, at that moment when they try to speak to you, say to them, إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا. I have made with Allah a covenant to do what? Sawman. Okay, now the word sawman, brothers, what does it mean? Two meanings. There's two meanings that are in front of us. The two meanings is, one that means I'm not going to eat food, I'm not going to drink anything. The fasting that we know, sawm. Al-ma'ruf, the fasting that we know, sah? That's one meaning. Or it could mean I'm going to withhold from speech. Which one of those did she mean? I'm going to hold it. But which one would we have understood it if it was first one that comes to our mind when she said, فَقُولِ إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا. It's the fasting, not eating and drinking. But there came an evidence that eliminated that thought out of our mind and made it the only option, which is that she's referring to, I'm going to withhold from speech, because after the ayah, what did it say? فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنسِيًّا. From today onwards, I'm not going to talk to anyone. Does that make sense? So the word sawm here, there's a ma'na zahir and there's a ma'na mu'awwal. The ma'na zahir was left this time. Why was it left? Because of a dalil that came outside that pushed us to the ta'wil. Are we all together? So we will do that for the nusus, bishart, with the condition that, of course, that the ta'wil has a evidence. We'll speak about this more in details, inshallah ta'ala. We will speak about more in details when we come to the Kitab al-Waraqaat, al-Wasitiyah by Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah.
الأفعال فعل صاحب الشريعة لا يخلو إما أن يكون على وجه القربة والطاعة وغير ذلك، فإن دل دليل على الاختصاص به يحمل على الاختصاص، وإن لم يدل لا يخصص به، لأن الله تعالى يقول لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة، فيحمل على الوجوب عند بعض أصحابنا، ومن أصحابنا من قال يحمل على الندب، ومنهم من قال يتوقف عنه، فإن كان على وجه غير القربة والطاعة فيحمل على الإباحة في حقه وحقنا. وإقرار صاحب الشريعة على القول الصادر من أحد هو قول صاحب الشريعة، وإقراره على الفعل كفعله. وما فعل في وقته في غير مجلسه وعلم به ولم ينكره فحكمه حكم ما فعل في مجلسه.
The author rahimahullah, now he goes, we spoke about the Prophet's speech, Amr, all these things that we were talking about, khas, am, mutlaq, muqayyad, zahir, mu'awwal, all of these things were speech. Now we're going to go into the Prophet's actions. Sah? The Prophet's actions, the author divided it into two, write it down. The author rahimahullah, he divided the Prophet's action into two. ما كان مفعولا على غير وجه القربة والطاعة. Something that the Prophet did not to get closer to Allah by it. The Prophet wasn't doing it to get closer to Allah by it. Actions that came from the Prophet but wasn't done for him wanting to get closer to Allah by it. That's the first. And the second one is that which he did to get closer to Allah by it. And the second is that which the Prophet did to get closer to Allah by it and get rewarded for it. Let's go to the first one. The first one, which is the actions that the Prophet did. And he didn't do it to get closer to Allah by it. Okay, he didn't. His intent was not to get closer to Allah by it. There are two types. They are what? There are two types. Fi'l, which is jibilli, a natural action that used to occur from the Prophet ﷺ, his own personal way. He was salawatullahi wa salamun alayhi. Like, he used to sleep. He had a way of sleeping, ﷺ, and he had a way of eating. And he had salawatullahi wa salamun alayhi, a way to drink, and he had a way he walked, alayhi salatu wasalam. These are actions which he did, salawatullahi wa salamun alayhi. These are actions which are jibilli, and jibilli is the way he was. And the second one is actions that are adat, the customs of his people. It was customs of his people that he adopted, alayhi salatu wasalam. These two, the Prophet ﷺ never got closer to Allah by it. And if you try to get closer to Allah by walking like the Prophet, some of the scholars, they said it's an innovation. To try to walk like the Prophet. Or to try to, for instance, for example, the hair, letting it grow to your shoulders, for instance. Some of the scholars, they said this is not something you follow the Prophet in it. If you do it because you like it, that's no problem. It's permissible for you to do it. Are we together? But if you try to do it to get closer to the Prophet and be like him and get rewarded for it, then you're not really following the Prophet. Why? Because the Prophet did it naturally and you're not doing it naturally. You're doing it to get closer to Allah by it. So you're not following the Prophet in it. That's what some of the scholars say. The second type is مَا فَعَلَهُ عَلَى وَجْهِ الْقُرْبَةِ وَالطَّاعَةِ. Things that the Prophet ﷺ did to get closer to Allah by it. He was trying to get closer to Allah by it. Huh? It was a custom of the Arabs, yes. In my community, if a man, my people, if a man lets his hair grow, they believe he's gone off the track. Like, mujrim, what's this guy? Sah? Is it like that in the Indian community? It's seen like that. Hada hu, they see him as a mujrim. Or the sunnah of the Prophet sometimes was he used to plait his hair. He would plait it. Yeah, 3 plaits. 1 on the top and 2 on the sides. Hey, can that happen in your community? If a man in our community does that, they'll see him as a renegade. Yeah? So, the Prophet didn't do it to get closer to Allah by it. It's mubah. The people can't say it's haram for you and they can't make it haram. It's mubah. Like you can't do ala wajh al-qurbati wa ta'a. I want to get closer to Allah by it because Nabi Muhammad did this. You can't. Brothers, I really want to finish the book. I really want to finish it. So I'll take the questions to the end. We need to finish quickly. It's a bit big today. That which the Prophet ﷺ did to get closer. I will take your question. Hey, what's your question? Hey. So Abdullah ibn Umar used to do that. Sah, haq, sah. So that's why some scholars they argue that this is something that Ibn Umar was alone in. They said that Ibn Umar used to follow the Prophet so much so that if the Prophet ﷺ used to walk somewhere, there was a time when the Prophet walked and when the Prophet came to that place, he put his head down because there was a log. Okay, and the Prophet went down and he went, because there was a log between the two trees, there was a log. So the tree got cut and there was no log anymore. Abdullah ibn Umar, whenever he would go by there, he would go down, even if there was nothing there. Ittiba'an li Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And so some of these things Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu was very against, which is tatabbu' athar al-anbiya. Like for example, if the Prophet went and urinated somewhere, people all to go and to urinate there, and things like that. Umar radiallahu anhu used to destroy those places, because these are not right. Are we all together? Anyways, we're going to now go to that which the Prophet did to get closer to Allah by it. These are his actions that he did to get closer to Allah by it. By the way, I need to mention this. Within the things that were naturally the Prophet's actions, there are things that we take as an exception. Like eating with your right. We don't say, oh, this is only unique for the Prophet, the way he ate. La. There's texts that came where the Messenger instructed the Sahabas, Kul biyaminik wa kulli mimma yalik. Now this becomes a speech that he said. So it goes under the awamir, the commandments. Sah? We're talking about mere actions that don't have speech with it. Or someone saying, yeah, the beard was the Arabs' cultures. You know, this is Arab culture. When you say, what about waffiru liha, urkhul liha? Are we all together? It's a person who hasn't even understood basic usul al-Fiqh. To say that the actions of the Prophet don't show Sunnah, we'll say, is this an action or is it a speech? Are we all together? It's a speech. Waffiru liha, let your beards grow. Urkhul liha, let this. Sah? Or the garment being above the ankles. The Prophet said, Ma asfala min al-ka'bayn fa fin nar. These are evidences now. They're not just Arab culture now. Are we all together? Okay, we go to the second type, which is ma kana maf'ulan ala wajh al-qurbati wa ta'a. Things that the Prophet did to get closer to Allah by it. There are two types. Things that were only for him. Only he could only do it. No one else could do it. It's ma dalla ad-dalilu ala ikhtisasihi ikhtisasi bihi. Things that are specific for him. And the scholars, they speak about that in books known as al-Khasa'is al-Nabawiyah. Things that are unique for him. Like marrying 9 women. There are books that scholars have written called Al-Khasa'is al-Nabawi. If you want to read on these issues, at the ending of the Kitab Al-Fusul fi Sirat al-Rasul by Ibn Kathir, he mentions some of the khasa'is, things that are unique for the Prophet ﷺ. Yeah, things like that were unique for him. And only he could do. You know the ayah where Allah says, فَإِن طَابَ لَكُم مِنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. How many women can a man marry? More, maximum 5? 4? 4. 4. So there was 4 is the maximum. And the Prophet can go on. So there was a man who came and he said, مَثْنَى وَالثُّلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. Do you guys get it? Mathna, which is 2. Thulatha, add 3 onto it, it becomes 5. Waruba, add 4 onto that, it becomes what? So he goes, you can marry 9 women like that. A'udhu billah. Huh? You can what? You can marry 9 like that, he said. That's incorrect. This is khasa'isu, that which is only for the Prophet. No one else. Only he can do that. And the second one is, la yukhassasu bihi. It's not for the Prophet alone. It's not. لا يكون له وحده. It's not only for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Everyone can do it. And that's the one that the scholars bring the ayah for. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Uswatun hasana is the second type, which is that which is not specific to him. The Prophet ﷺ's actions, the last one that I mentioned, which is that which is not specific for him. It's not specific to him. Everyone can do this one. It's not specific to him. What ruling does it take? Is it wajib for us to do that? The default position is wajib. Or is it recommended? Or we can't say which one is which. Those are the 3 views. Some of the scholars, they said anything that the Prophet ﷺ does, لا يخصص به, is not specific to him, it's not alone for him, then the default position is that wajib, we need to follow him unless there comes a dalil that shows otherwise. And another group of scholars say, la, anything that the Prophet ﷺ does, and that's not specific to him, the default position is that it's recommended for us to do unless there comes evidence that shows obligation. So they disputed one another. And the strongest opinion is every action that the Prophet did that's not specific to him, that everybody else can do, and that he did, ﷺ, and he did it to get closer to Allah by it, the people, it's recommended for them to do it. And it's not obligatory. It's recommended. It's what? It's recommended, not obligatory. I repeat, anything that the Prophet did to get closer to Allah by it, and it's not specific to him. It's not specific to him. The default position is that it's recommended for everybody else to do it. Unless there shows an evidence that it's what? It's obligatory. Yeah? Huh? Yeah, no, without doubt. He will miss out some ujur, ajr are going to be missing. Yeah? And the author, rahimahullah, concludes with the last point in this chapter, which is a mas'ala known as al-Iqrar. We spoke about the Prophet's speech, we spoke about the Prophet's actions right now, and now the author concluded with the third type of sunnah, which is what? Iqrar, the consent of the Prophet ﷺ. Something that was done in the Prophet's presence. What is the ruling regarding this? And the Prophet was silent. What can we say here? What we say is anything that was done in the Prophet's presence and he was silent about it, meaning he didn't object to it, it is an approval. It's allowed. Are we all together? The scholars, they differ amongst themselves. Does it have to be in the presence of the messenger? I mean, does he have to see it? Or, what about if he was at his time, but he wasn't there, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Can that also take the same ruling as it being done in his presence? Some of the scholars argue strongly and they say yes. Why not? Because Allah knows that they're doing this. And if there's haram, Allah will bring a dalil for it and speak to the Prophet. That's what some scholars they say. Are we all together? And one of the evidence for that is the man who prayed. And he bled while he was praying. The arrows were thrown at him. And he was in the salah. They threw an arrow at him and he was in the prayer. And he was told to guard the enemy. And he was put as a patrol. And he prayed. He prayed his Qiyamul Layl. And as he was praying, the arrow hit him. He broke it. Carried on his salah. They threw another one. It went into him again. He snapped it. And he carried on praying. And he's bleeding at the point he's praying. And then he felt if he carries on the prayer, he might die and the enemy might come to the Prophet and his companions and then kill them all. So then he went out of the prayer and he called on to the people. And he said, Wallahi, I was in a recitation. I was reciting. Wallahi, I never wanted to cut it for anyone. The way I was enjoying the recitation of the Quran. What happened to the man? He bled. He what? He bled. Is a salah sahihah if you're bleeding? It's a mas'ala fiqhiyah, right? Some of the scholars, they said, yeah, iqrar, the consent of the Prophet ﷺ. Some of the scholars, they said, there's no evidence that the Prophet ﷺ was aware of what this man did. The scholars, they come back and they say, but Allah was aware of it. And if this is something that the ummah can't do, Allah will clarify that when you're praying, do not. Be careful from the blood. Sah? وَهَكَذَا. These are the issues that it goes back to. These principles, brothers, it applies on contemporary issues that we have discussions with.